What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media. It's week 2. It's Sunday. It's 9:30 a.m. for me. Most of you guys, it's 12:30. So we got football today. We got AFC North battle. It's really our first. We talked about in the offseason. Week 1 was a preseason game for us. That was the preseason game. Luckily, we were able to win it against the Houston Texans. This is really our first matchup. We got Mark Andrews. We have Lamar Jackson. We got Zay Flowers week 2. Odell rocking Randy Moss cleats today. Joshua, how you feeling for this game?
Oh man, I was up to 2:00 last night. Watch Colorado versus Colorado State. So Buff Nation, let's ride. So now I'm here at 12:32 Eastern Standard Time with my Ravens family, TTB family. Ravens, let's fly today. So man, listen, I'm excited. The AFC North rival. We got little brother today at Cincinnati Bengals. It's good to get those games out the way, especially those away games, so we can enjoy those rivalry games at home. And it's the best way to start, best way to start the season, because then at the us Steelers versus the Browns on Monday night. So potentially you kind of need the Steelers to win Monday night so we can try to kind of be at the top of the seat, at the top of the heat, but I believe we'll be tied with the Browns. So I mean, I definitely love that football is back. Mark Andrews get to make his debut today. I'm excited for that. Yes, we do got some guys that's not going to be suited up, but hey, next man up mentality here in Baltimore. We're going to keep on working out, man.
Yeah, and this is a big game. The Bengals are coming off of one of the worst losses, I would say, of Joe Burrow's career. Against the Cleveland Browns. I mean, they got beat by 20 points. T. Higgins had 0 receptions on 8 or 9 targets. They couldn't get anything going. Myles Garrett had a field day with Orlando Brown Jr. So overall, I think we're going to go out there and we're going to have to play really good football to try and beat this Cincinnati Bengals team, because it's already a tough divisional matchup. They're never going to come into it, lackadaisically, but now they're going to be, there's even more juice, because you don't want to start 0-2, especially when, in their minds, they're Super Bowl contenders. And I would say they're Super Bowl contenders. Like, they got to get off to a better start than 0-2. You don't want to be like the Minnesota Vikings, who last year top 2 seed in the AF or in the NFC, and now they're 0-2, right? So you don't want to have a start like that, because you got to really rally, no matter how good of a football team you are. If you lose the first 2 weeks of the season, that makes it way more difficult to, try and win your division, because remember, there's only one bye week now. And the Bengals, I think, came into this year hoping for a bye. You don't want to have to play one of these AFC teams, because the AFC, I'm sorry, NFC fans, it's a lot better than the NFC. All right. If you're playing in the wild card round in the NFC, you're probably all right. Even if you're a wild card team, you might be playing against the New Orleans Saints, which is probably a lot better, a lot worse of a team than who's going to be the worst team in the AFC that wins their division? The Jaguars? I mean, like, the Jaguars are a much better team than the Saints, and then the wild card teams are going to be teams like the Chargers, maybe the Bengals, maybe the Ravens, maybe, let's see, who else is going to be pretty good? I don't know, maybe the Titans, who are always a tough team to beat, but they did lose to the Saints. Maybe the Steelers, maybe the Jets, maybe the Patriots, maybe the Dolphins. There's a lot of really good teams in the AFC, and you want to make sure that you have the best day, so you don't have to face one of those elite teams in the first game of that, play postseason. Because let's be honest, the Bengals are probably making the postseason. The Ravens probably making the postseason. The real question is where do they fit in? The Chiefs lost a game already. The Bills lost a game already. The Bengals lost a game already. If you're the Ravens, this is a great time to go out there and try and get that number 1 seed, because all the teams that you were trying to jump in recent years, they've all lost. The only teams that haven't lost that the Ravens are maybe going to be battling with is maybe the Jaguars, maybe the Dolphins, but that's about it. So you can absolutely get, a leg up on another AFC team this week if you beat the Cincinnati Bengals. So it's, even though it's week 2, it is still a big stakes game.
Yeah, absolutely. Then after today's game, we go to Indianapolis.
I know we play Indianapolis. I think it's on the road.
Okay. And then, so I mean, yeah, I mean, it's definitely good to get that. It's definitely good to get that started. That good start, especially with what we're trying to do, the acquisitions that we acquired. Um, we don't want this to be a quote unquote bust type of season. And it's been a lot. It's been a lot that these guys are riding on. I mean, we made the contract extension for Lamar. We got Zay Flowers, we got Odell. We made the move for Nelson Aguilar. Yes, and Mark Andrews is playing today. Jalen Armour Davis is active today. I know Arthur Millette is inactive. Um, so yeah, we are getting some guys. We are getting some guys back, which is good to hear. I think Marlon is out for today as well, and I
Correct.
know Ronnie and Tyler Linderbaum is also out as well. So I mean, granted, yes, is it hurts to see some of your key players hurt as well, but like I said, next man stand up, next man up. In the Baltimore facility, and we're gonna make something shake. So I mean, it's definitely good to see the guys ready to get out there. I'm ready. I'm just ready to see some. I'm ready to see how they develop from last week, though. Especially with
Yeah.
the offensive ball moving. I want to see how the running game is still going to be utilized as well today, especially with J.K. Dobbins being out. I mean, we talked about it previously. Is Gus Edwards going to be the vocal point, or are they going to use a lot of Justice Hill and passing plays, things of that nature? Don C, thank you for coming through, baby. Glad to always have you in the stream with us, man. But it's definitely going it's definitely going to be interesting to see how Todd Monken and Mike McDonald use our chess pieces to still keep us in the game and still utilize these guys' abilities as well. Because you do have to answer the question. Is Geno Stone going to be that ball hawking safety that Marcus Williams is, or do you put Kyle Hamilton in that role? Is Kyle Hamilton going to be coming down to check Hayden Hurst and things of that nature? So it's definitely interesting to see how we're going to be matching up against these guys today, because I feel like this is going to be an early test. We possibly could be seeing Cincinnati in the playoffs again, and we just hope it's not the same. It's not the same outcome as last year.
Yeah, and one of the benefits that the Ravens have is, knock on wood, Mike McDonald has done pretty well against the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow, even in games where we haven't had Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's missed the last 3 games against the Cincinnati Bengals. That's rough, but the Ravens have at least held the Bengals in check a little bit. Obviously, they've had Marlon Humphrey in those games, but at least we have someone that, schematically has done pretty well against them, because what he's tried to do is he's taken away that big play for them, and they've had to march down the field. And that's allowed guys like Patrick Queen on a blitz or Roquan Smith in coverage to make a play on a 3rd and short, to be able to say, all right, we got to stop. Maybe we only held them to a field goal. Maybe we were able to force a punt, whatever it is. They've done well at doing that, even though we're going up against some of the best receiving core in the NFL with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. I do want to quickly give a shout out to my favorite guy in the draft class that I talked about a ton of times, Puka Nacua. All of a sudden is like the number 1 most talked about wide receiver 3 in NFL history. I told you all about Puka. Just want to say that real quick. So anybody starting him in fantasy, good luck. He's actually facing a really tough defense. Probably won't do very much today. But Zay Flowers this game, I think is going to be a huge piece, right? I think when you're looking at this Ravens passing game, Odell's played very well against the Bengals traditionally. He got the first touchdown in the Super Bowl against the Bengals. He looked really good in that game. And Odell's an emotional player. We know that. After the Super Bowl, he said, if I didn't get hurt, we would have won 42-17. And I would have put up 150 yards and, 2 touchdowns. And then someone said woulda, coulda, shoulda. And it's like, buddy, you still lost. You can't say woulda, coulda, shoulda when you still lost. Like the Rams were able to win that game. So it's just
I think it was a Cincy player too.
It was a Cincinnati player. I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was like William Jackson or something like that.
As long as it wasn't Eli Apple.
It wasn't Eli Apple. But Eli Apple's no longer here. I expect Odell to get his first touchdown of the season today. I think this is a revenge game for him. I think the Ravens want to pass the ball a little bit more this week, especially without J.K. Dobbins. But I don't think it's going to be gun ho. I don't think they're going to go out there and throw the ball 45 times. But I do think they're going to utilize the quick passing game and, maybe a little bit of back shoulder fades to Odell. I think he looked really good in his first game back. But now, all right, I think you're facing a worse corner because Stingley was the guy guarding Odell last week.
Mhm.
I don't think Cheeto is as good as Stingley. Even though Stingley's young, I think Stingley's a very good cornerback. I think he was the number 3 pick in the draft last year. He was 3 or 2. I think it was 3. He's a very good player. And Odell did pretty good using his veteran moves on him. The thing about Stingley is crazy fast and athletic. Cheeto is not that guy. He's still fast. He's not a slow cornerback, but I think Odell can do pretty well today. Not saying he goes for 150 and 2 touchdowns, but I think he does get a touchdown, maybe 4, maybe 5 receptions on the day, while Zay works underneath and Bateman works kind of across the middle.
I mean, I like that. I mean,
I do think Cheeto's underrated, Spooky J.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, honestly, when we've gotten players that are having that rejuvenation to their career, and once they played against a former team, or if they played against a team that they knew that they knew they had their number, they kind of showed out. So I definitely would love to see a big game out of Odell, today. For some reason, I think Boy said it. I think he thinks it's going to be a shootout. I see a shootout happen as well today. I mean, I feel like the ball is going to be slinged around. Our O line, it needs some work, but their O line needs some work too. And anybody that's a pocket passer with Orlando Brown Jr. as their right tackle, it's going to be a long day for them. And Joe Burrow is not as athletic as a Patrick Mahomes nor Lamar Jackson. Yes, he can evade, a sack here and there, but he's not that fast. I feel like our guys can definitely chase him down, and it comes down to who's front seven wants it more. So our young guys on the outside have to be more hungry than those guys. What's the man that took the ball out of Tyler Huntley's hand and ran it all the way back? Was it Hendrickson? Their defense?
I think it was Henderson or Hubbard.
Okay.
I think Hendrickson might have knocked it out and Hubbard might have run it back.
Yeah,
I think Hubbard ran it back. I don't.
Our guys got to be hungry than those guys today for sure. Because I definitely feel like this game will be one in the trenches. Because both our O lines, are ailing. If we're being completely honest. So I definitely feel like it could be a pass happy type of game. We could see some big numbers possibly being put up, whether, it's Odell's day or, Zay making things happen in the short and the media routes, getting that yak, or even Rashad Bateman. So, and then, like I said, Mark Andrews is back. Is Jesse Bates still with Cincinnati?
No, Bates is in Atlanta.
Hey, okay. Then.
2 picks on Bryce Young week 1.
So, that secondary is, I'm not going to say fresh. I don't know who's still there, but I know I know it's not the same secondary from that Super Bowl team. So I definitely feel like it's not going to be a walk in the park. It's going to be a dogfight. It's an AFC rivalry game. I would love to see the run game being utilized, but hey, if the pass is there, keep on moving the chains.
Yeah, and speaking of the offensive line, obviously Orlando Brown Jr. making his return against the Baltimore Ravens. He's played against the Ravens before, but I want to see how David Ojabo matches up against him. I want to see really the one guy. I want to see Clowney. I think Clowney is one of the guys that I'm watching today because we've seen Adafe. Adafe looked really good last week. I'm paying attention to all of them, but Clowney's is a real big one of, okay, we saw what you did last week. Can you do that again? Because if you do, we're going to be in really good shape for this season with our front seven. Hopefully David Ojabo, is able to play well again. I just want to see whoever's matched up against Orlando Brown Jr., how are they faring? Bengals cut La'el Collins or released him from the pup list or something like that. He's released. He's no longer there. So overall, I think Orlando Brown Jr. is the tackle to watch. How do the Ravens get past him? How do they do? Because Myles Garrett, now believe me, we don't have Myles Garrett, but Myles Garrett had an absolute field day last week against the Bengals. Can the Ravens, do get a little pinch of that action, just a little bit, a couple of pressures off of him. Because if they do, Burrow, I think what makes Burrow great. All right. Sorry, Ravens fans. I'm about to praise Burrow for a second, but I think Burrow is the best quarterback in the NFL when it comes to pocket awareness and his ability to move around and step up in the pocket to avoid sacks. It's a very Tom Brady, very Drew Brees-esque, where Burrow's not running. Like Burrow's not taking off, outside the pocket like a Lamar, like a Mahomes, like a Russell Wilson, who are all great at avoiding pressure. Instead, he steps forward, he steps to the side, he avoids the pressure, drops his shoulder, makes the throw. Like that's what he's great at. The Ravens have struggled against him at getting those sacks. They've gotten the pressure and then he sidesteps them. Are they going to be able to finish those sacks today? That's going to be the deciding factor in this game, because that's why Cleveland was so good against the Bengals, because Burrow's been under pressure his whole NFL career. He hasn't taken as much sacks recently because he's been really good at avoiding those sacks. You're not avoiding Myles Garrett sacks. Only a few guys do that. Lamar Jackson's one of them, luckily. But overall, that's the biggest thing. Is it's not about just getting the pressure, it's about finishing the sacks. And Burrow's one of the most difficult, and he doesn't get credit for it. When you talk most difficult to sack, guys talk about Mahomes, guys talk about Kyler, Lamar, the mobile guys, right? They don't talk about Burrow. And Burrow is the best at avoiding sacks in the pocket in the NFL. So we got to collapse the pocket on him, make it so there's nowhere to go, so then we can finish those plays and maybe get some strip sacks. We saw David Ojabo already get one on Joe Burrow last season. So
yeah,
that's kind of what I'm watching. Like Joshua said, front seven, the offensive and defensive lines of both teams is where this game is going to be won. If the Bengals can't run the ball, they're going to be forced to throw it a lot, and that's going to allow the Ravens to kind of tee up and try and get some sacks on Burrow.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's a great point that you brought up. Unfortunately, we got to be real about it. Joe Burrow he's a pocket passer, but he has great awareness, like you said. Sometimes you see him evade, run out of the pocket, but outside of that, he steps up, he moves side to side, if he needs to be. And honestly, he needed something to set him afar from everyone else, because when he did go into the NFL draft, he was one of the oldest QBs, or one of the oldest players going into the draft. I mean, let's if we want to take it a step further, if he did not transfer from Ohio State, we wouldn't even know who Joseph Burrow is today. I mean, let's be real. I don't think he would have got it. I don't think he would have got his chance because he was so deep down the depth chart at Ohio State. But once he made his move over to LSU, he had Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and that whole LSU team. Hey, they did their thing. He done moved on to the next level, and we done seen him. He's been continuing to capitalize off that. He's in his hometown. They loving him. But today, we got to quiet the noise out. We got to collapse the pocket, like you said. We're gonna have to get to him by any means necessary. I'm looking forward to seeing PQ on a couple blitzes. Making him nervous. I don't know if Joe Mixon's going to be. I don't know if Joe Mixon is going to be running the ball. Yep, I agree with that, Benjamin, for sure. Roquan Smith, he got one sack. Let's hopefully he can get one more today, because I think somebody last week put in a chat. 150 tackles, 10 sacks. If you can get a sack almost every game, plus 15 to 16 tackles. I think that's a hard argument right there, McConnell, for him to be Defensive Player of the Year.
That's a lock for Defensive Player of the Year. I'm saying that. If anybody ever puts up 150 tackles and 10 sacks, they're winning Defensive Player of the Year.
All you need is one sack a game, and just keep on working at the tackles. So I'm not going to say that's crazy numbers, but with people that's determined to be great. Usually things come to them at an ease. And I feel like Roquan Smith was one of those guys where things just come easy to him. He works hard. He just comes with his hard hat and his lunch pail. He gets to work. That's the type of guy he is. On the Wired, he said, call me the Terminator, call me Agent Zero, call me whatever you need. I'm gonna make it happen. That's what I love about Roquan Smith. And I love the fact that we made that trade for him. I love how he's leading these young group of men. And man, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. You got Roquan being the defensive leader on on defensive side. Then you got Lamar Jackson stepping up to be the offense leader. I'm looking forward to see how he's going to be managing the game as well today, how he breaks down the defense. I want to see if he calls any type of audibles or any check down plays if he's seeing something. Because this is what we look for in our quarterback is the growth and development of them. I mean, we've seen some guys once they get paid, they kind of get hurt. They kind of just sit out, and you don't see no more of them, or their availability is very limited. Ronnie Stanley. Um, so I'm definitely looking forward to see how Lamar managed the game today, how he puts the ball in his playmakers' hands, how we just continue to make himself his presence known as a QB in this NFL league.
Yeah, and overall in this game, we got about 7 minutes till this game starts. One of the biggest things, by the way, I looked up most tackles with 10 sacks in a season. The record is 80 for most tackles with 10 sacks in a season. Most tackles with 5 sacks in a season is 120. And I believe that was Patrick Willis. No, it wasn't Patrick Willis. I can't remember who it was, but it was about 120. It was Navarro Bowman, I think. Ravens, when you're playing against the Bengals, one of the guys that we got to look at is Mr. Almost. All right. I'm calling him Mr. Almost from now on until he becomes Mr. Got There. And that's Brandon Stevens. All right. Mr. Almost. Let's get some hands on the football. He was so close last week. I thought he had one, Joshua. We both thought he had a pick six last week. Can he do it this week? Can he get some swats? Because, they're going to be, the Bengals love the jump ball. That is what they love. And Brandon Stevens, it's been one of the things that has, kind of hurt him the most has been those jump balls against him. We saw that. Remember that game against Devontae Parker against the Patriots? And it was like, dude, what are we doing? Like, Devontae Parker had like 150 receiving yards because they were just throwing jump balls against Brandon Stevens. And it's like, all right, let's not let that happen. Let's, he's generally in good position. Get some hands on the football, push him out of bounds, whatever it is. Don't allow a lot of receptions. If he allows 1 or 2, whatever, that's fine. Everyone allows 1 or 2, except for the Browns, apparently. But let's get a couple of knockdowns. If you can get a pick, that's great. Don't need it. Just get a couple of PBUs, Brandon Stevens, and that's going to really help the Ravens this game.
Oh, for sure. I definitely agree with that. I mean, we know Brandon Stevens can be aggressive as hell as a tackler, but also we need you to be aggressive as hell with your ball instinct. Actually, box out the wide receivers and just pulling the interception once in a while. If not, like you said, man, pass breakup. Because we see, well, I don't know about everybody else, but I believe McConnell and myself, we do see some type of level of potential in him trying to grow as a corner in the NFL. Clearly the Ravens saw some potential in them, making the transition from running back to, playing corner and getting drafted in the NFL. So hey, yes, Jalen Ahmani Davis is available today, boy. He is available. I don't know how much we will see of him today, but yes, he is available. But I definitely looking forward to see Rock Johnson, Ronald Darby. He played good ball last week. I mean, he was definitely in the tackles. He definitely made his presence known as well. I'm looking forward to seeing. Geno Stone is a head hunter, but I also need him to if he can make his presence known on that interception tip is catch a pick for us. We want to build on those getting those turnovers because I definitely feel like this game will come down to crunch work and also who gets that turnover because I feel like it could possibly be a shootout today. It could possibly be a shootout.
Yeah, I think it's time, Joshua. We got about 4 minutes till this game gets going. Bold predictions. Everybody, let us know your bold predictions in the chat. We're going to start with the offense. I'm going to go first with the offense. And I'm going to say that Odell Beckham Jr. scores the first touchdown, but we also get a Zay Flowers touchdown in this game as well on a 20-plus yard play. And the Odell touchdown, that's going to be on a back shoulder fade.
Well, I like that. Well, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna still stay in the passing round. I'm gonna go. I got Lamar getting 400 all-purpose yards. With 4 touchdowns. I feel like he rushed. I feel like the pocket collapsed, and he just said, F it. I'm taking it all the way. I see green. I'm going all the way to the house. I feel like Mark Andrews is going to draw a lot of attention since he's back. 3 touchdowns to our wide receivers. No matter which one it is, which one it goes to. I just feel like it's going to be 3 touchdowns passed around. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I see that spin. I can see that. I can see Lamar hitting somebody in that spin cycle once again.
Ooh, I like that one. Defensive side of the ball, what are you going to rock with?
Oh man, I got a David Ojabo force. I got him with 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and 1 to the crib. I got David Ojabo having a big day. You know, when David Ojabo was healthy, finally became healthy and activated, Joe Burrow was his first quarterback that he got a sack and strip fumble on. So hey, why not capitalize on it?
Yeah, for me, I'm going with the pass rusher. I'm going with Jadeveon Clowney. I think he gets the quarterback down twice for sacks. Now, that could be counted as 2 half sacks. That could be counted as 2 solo sacks. I'm just going to say he gets the quarterback down twice. More likely than not, it's probably going to be about 1.5 sacks for Clowney, but I think he's in on 2 sacks the Ravens have on Joe Burrow. I think he has a big day. I think he's the guy that kind of wreaks havoc across the Bengals offensive line today.
I feel it. Okay. 2 minutes left. Give me a score prediction. What you thinking about?
I'm thinking, guys, I hate to do this. I'm going Bengals 26, Ravens 24. It's very rare that I don't pick the Ravens, but I think this one's going to be really tough with the offensive line. I think it's a very close game, though.
I definitely feel that. Well, like I said, man, I feel like it's going to be a shootout. I'm going Ravens 38, Bengals 31.
Okay.
I feel like it comes down.
I like yours a lot more than I like mine. I'll say that.
I mean, it comes down to the defense. Whoever makes that, key stop, man. Honestly, I'm not going to take away from Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. They do make things happen. Joe knows how to bomb that thing. Jamar Chase knows how to come down with it, and he has had a field day with our secondary. And with no Marcus Williams, it will be tough on us. But yeah.
Imagine if the Bengals only put up 3 points again. That would be insane.
Hey, I would love it.
I love it. Let's do it.
I would love it.
Let's do 0. No touchdowns on the season. All right. This is better than the 2000 Ravens. Let's do that. Everybody, thank you all so much for coming through. Subscribe for Daily Ravens content. Make sure to come through to the post-game show. I don't know if it'll be after the game today or if it'll be tomorrow afternoon. Josh and I will text about that. We'll let you guys know, with a post or whatever, or we'll just be live after the game. Thank you all so much for coming through. Subscribe. We'll see all of you again next time.